Hello folks, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I will teach you how to automate drop-down fields using Selenium WebDriver with Java. But before we begin with the automation test, let's first begin and understand what is a drop-down field. A drop-down field in web forms is an interactive menu that presents multiple options for user selection. By performing a single click, users can select the option of their choice, which promptly updates the drop-down field. There are two types of drop-down fields. The first one is single select drop-down, and the second one is multi-select drop-down field. In single select drop-down field, a user can select only a single option at a time. For example, a drop-down field for selecting a gender, user can either select male or female from the given options. Let's take an example of Lambda Test Selenium Playground website, which has a menu called Select Drop-Down List. We will be checking out this menu here. And this is a demo website that can be utilized for learning web automation. This website has this page, and there are multiple options like select option, single select option, and multi-select option. So we will be going through and checking out how to automate both of these fields. But just to make you understand regarding the drop-down fields, this is a drop-down field, and there are multiple values that are displayed here, and user can go ahead and select any value that he requires to select. And ideally, as soon as he selects the value, the same value is promptly displayed in the field as well. So here it is a day field, and it allows selecting a single day at a time. So either you can select from the list of 7 days that are displayed here, you can just select one day. Like for example, Thursday. As soon as I select Thursday, Wednesday, or whatever value I select, it gets displayed promptly in the field out there. There are multi-select option fields as well, like the field that you see below here, multi-select option. So in this case, you can select multiple values. So I'm just pressing the control key along with click. So it allows selecting multiple values. And you can see the multiple values are selected in the field. As soon as I click on any single value, the last selected value gets displayed. So either I can select multiple values, or I can select a single value as per my choice. So for example, if I select these three values, or I can also select the full whole of this value that are displayed in this field. So it all depends. I can select all, I can deselect all, I can select a single value, I can select multiple values. So this is the option that is provided by the multi-select field. How to handle dropdown in Selenium WebDriver? So Selenium provides a select class that can be used to automate the dropdown field. This select class has different methods that will help in selecting values in single as well as multi-select dropdown fields. The select class is present in org.openqa.selenium.support.ui package, and it implements the iSelect and reps element interfaces. We will be shortly seeing that in the demo as well. As when we write the code, I'll show you the package name as well as the interfaces name that are being implemented by the select class. Select class can be used by instantiating the class and passing the web element as constructor parameter to the class to create an object. Let's quickly move into the demo and check out how do we perform the automation for a single select drop-down value. We will be making use of the same website that we just discussed, Lambda Test Selenium Playground website, where we'll be checking out the drop-down menu. The first one is the single select. So we will be first automating this particular field, and then we'll move next to the multi-select option. So first, I have this project created in IntelliJ. In my previous videos, I have made use of the same project, Selenium-demo, which is available on GitHub. You can check out the different codes that I have demoed out in the previous videos as well as in this video, I will be using the same project. I have created a new package, drop-down menu. Inside that, there are two packages that I have created. One is the pages, where I'll be saving the different page. And another one is the test, where I'll be writing the test for this dropdown. First thing first, I have created the drop-down page, as I'm using the page object model to locate the selectors and then update them in a separate class. It helps in code readability as well as maintenance part as well. So I have created this drop-down page class where I'll have all the web elements related to this drop-down page. So the web element that I want to first check out is this particular drop-down field. So let's open the dev tools and then see what selector do we get for locating this field. So you can see there is a select class, the select tab. Ideally, when you have this select tag, you can directly use the select class in Selenium to automate the field. So in this select tag, we have an ID select-demo. So to locate this single select option field, we can use this ID select-demo. And that is what I have done here. So this particular method returns a new instance of select class with the web element that is being located. So first it will locate the web element single drop down field by using the ID locator, and then return a new instance of the select class. Now in the select class, like I said, in the constructor parameter, we need to provide the web element on which the respective selection needs to be done. So we will be providing this web element select drop down field. Ideally, this is the web element, the field here. And then there are three different values, three different options that are provided by the select class. So ideally, if I tell you, there are three methods that are simply provided by the select class in Selenium. That the first one is select by value, the other one is select by index, and the third one is select by visible text. Select by value, what does that mean is, now you see there are, when you see this field, when you locate this field, and there are different values that the field showcases, the different days, names of the days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So you see the value here, value equal to Monday, value equal to Tuesday, value equal to Wednesday, and so on. So this select by value ideally focuses on selecting the option in this field using these values here. Using the option text, whatever value we have, you can make use of select by value and select that respective value. Select by index ideally will use the number to select the value. So ideally the index starts from 0. So if you see here, the first element that is provided in the option tag is a disabled value that has the value please select. You can see it here, please select. So this is the 0th value. Ideally, after that, you can select the next index. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Sunday is at one index. The index of Monday is 2. Then following on Tuesday 3, Wednesday 4, 5, 6, and 7. So ideally, you can make use of these integer values, like from the value 1 to 7, whatever value that you need to select. Like for example, if you want to select Thursday, then you can give the value 5, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and Thursday comes at 5 index. So ideally, you can give the value as 5 for selecting by index. And then finally, the third method that is used for selecting by visible text. So whatever text is visible in this field, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can give that respective value and then ask the automation test to select the value by its visible text. So currently this is a demo website, so that is the reason why you see different values here. Yeah, like value equal to Sunday, Monday, and so on, and the same visible text are displayed. In case sometimes what happens is the values are given as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and here you see the text as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it becomes more clear to use select by visible text, which is the name of the days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and select by value will have then the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and say the index also remains at the number level. So it all depends upon how the DOM is being created by the developers to tackle the different options that are displayed in the field. Now, moving into the code, like I said, I have created one single select dropdown method that returns a new instance of select class, and it has the dropdown field web element as well. Now, what I need to do here is I need to create three different methods. This is just for showcasing and demoing out the three different methods that has been used, that has been provided by the select class in Selenium. So, but ideally, if you want, you can use any of this method to select an option. So there is no requirement to select or use all the three methods to select the value. You can either select by value, you can either select by index, or you can either select by visible text. So preferably using select by visible text is commonly used. If there are complexity in the website and there are no options available that you think you can select, so ideally you can make use of index. So ideally you don't have to check out for the values that are displayed in the drop down. You can just give the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and ideally it will select the values in the drop down field. So here select drop down field. So this particular field, and then select by value. So I have created a kind of a parameter like string value. For the index, I have created integer index as a parameter, and then again string text for the visible text. And I've just provided this parameter value in the thing. So whatever value I want to select in the drop down field will ideally be provided at the in the test directly. So this is just a kind of a placeholder for now. So there is one more method that needs to be provided to check out for the value that is selected in the field. So that is the reason why I have given the get selected value method. And this method would ideally select whatever value is been selected in the field. So for example, I have selected Tuesday. So you see Tuesday here, this method will return the value Tuesday. I've used the same select drop down field method, and after that I have used get first selected option. This is the method that is provided by the select class, and it will return whatever first selected option is there in the field. And then finally I have converted it to a string format to return its text, and it will return the text. So these are all the methods that we will be using for performing the automation test on the drop-down field. And let's now move on to the drop-down test. So I've created one class called drop-down test, but there are some setup and configuration required to run Selenium before we move on to the test. For that, I have created a base test class. Now here I have made use of a before test annotation that is provided in testng and after test annotation. The before test annotation will configure and set up all the required Chrome options as well as the driver basic driver configuration for running the test on the Chrome driver. And the after test annotation will ideally quit the driver gracefully. So the setup and the teardown method will ideally help you in setting up the driver and quit the driver gracefully. I have also created one more method, capture screenshot, and it takes the screenshot name as a parameter. This is done because once the test will be executed, uh, there are 3-4 different tests that we will be running currently for checking out the values, for selecting the values in the drop-down field using select by value, select by text, visible text, and select by index. So ideally to check out if the test ran successfully, what values were selected at the time when the assertions were performed, I have created this capture screenshot method, and I'll be using Selenium 4 here. So if you just check out the pom.xml, you will find that I'm using the Selenium Java dependency of version 4.21.0 and testng.7.10.0. So ideally is the Selenium 4 version that I'm using currently. And in the capture screenshot, Selenium 4 provides new ways to capture the screenshot. So there is a browser context class that is being provided by Selenium 4. We just need to instantiate this class. But just to mention here, for using this browser context, you need to pass on a capability. You need to instantiate the Chrome options class or whatever driver options that you have. Like if you're running Firefox, then you need to set up the Firefox options. If you're running Edge, then you need to set up the Edge options, and so on. So I'm currently using Chrome. So I have set up this Chrome options class, and I have set the capability WebSocket URL to true. This will help in setting up the browsing context class. And then finally, driver equal to new Chrome driver will have the capabilities passed as a Chrome options. And finally, we have we will be maximizing the window and then with applying a implicit wait of 30 seconds and then navigating to this drop down page, the same drop down page that I just showed you. Okay, next, this browsing context will get the window handle, and then in the string format, it will provide all the image details. So these image details needs to be converted to an image next. This string format, whatever we have from the output provided by the browsing context class in the string format, we'll have to convert it to image. For that, I have used this base64 decoder to decode the screenshot image. And then I have used this file output stream. These are all a part of Java library itself, Java programming language itself. And you can just check out here. I've used this java.io file output stream. For base64, I've used the util from Java. And also for the browsing context, we have this BD bidirectional package being imported. So it will automatically get imported once you start writing the code. And for conversion of the strings to the respective image format, we have done this, use this base64 get decoder and then decode the screenshot. And finally, for processing the image, I've used this file output stream, and it will create the screenshot with a name, whatever name that is been provided at the runtime by the user, and it will store the image in the PNG format. And then finally, the image will be written using this byte array that actually processes the string values that was that was provided by the browsing context class, and then finally we will close the respective image out file output string, and this will provide us with the screenshot. Now let's move to the drop down test. So the first test that we will be checking, but before that, let me tell you that we need to extend the base test here. One more thing like I forgot to show you was the details about the select class. You can just check out the package name that is being provided here. Like I mentioned previously, org.openqa.selenium.support.ui.select. This is the package name that we need to import to get the methods as well as the instantiating the select class. And if you just check out the select class, so you just need to press the control and click here. So it will take you to the select class, and you can see the select class implements iSelect and reps element interfaces. So that is what I mentioned in the start at the time of introduction. So let's now move into the test. I was telling you about the three different tests that we have written. So the first test, like we created three different methods. We need to test all of those methods: single select by value, select by index, and select by visible text. So I have created three different tests here. Test select drop down value. It will select the drop down value using its value, and we will be selecting the value Monday here, and then we will be performing an assertion like if it is selecting the correct value or not. Similarly, we will be capturing the screenshot and naming it as select by value. We will be selecting some value by index. So we have supplied the value as 3, which is actually Tuesday. So if you see here 0, 1, 2, and 3. So these please select is at 0 position, 1 position we have at Sunday, second position is Monday, and third position is Tuesday. So ideally in the assertion you can find when you provide the select by index value to 3, the test should run successfully and should select the value Tuesday. And then we will capture the screenshot and provide its name as select by index. And then the final test select drop down with visible text. And we will be selecting the value Thursday by using the select by visible text method, and then verifying the value using assertion. And then we'll capture the screenshot and name it as select by text. Okay. Since I have ran this test previously, I have these 3 screenshots previously generated. So let me delete these first and then run the test. So there are 2 ways we can run the test. Either we can create a test.ng XML file, or we can directly run the test using this class directly. So currently I'll use the shortcut. We'll run the test directly by clicking on this button here and run the drop-down test. So it's setting up the Selenium WebDriver now. You can see the Chrome driver open and all the tests running successfully. We see 3 tests run, 3 tests passed. Let's check out so you can see the screenshots getting generated successfully. I deleted them previously. So when the test ran successfully, we see the screenshots also getting generated. So first test was test select drop down value, and we gave the screenshot name as select by value. So let's check this select by value, and you can see the value Monday was selected successfully in the option. The next text was select by index. So just let's open this PNG, and you can see in the screenshot Tuesday is selected successfully, and the final test was select by text, and we wanted to select Thursday. So let's see. Yeah, that also was selected successfully, and the assertions went thoroughly through. So this is how you can select different values from the drop down. With this, we come to an end for the single select drop down demo. Now let's move on and check out the demo for multi-select drop-down fields. This is the website Lambda Test Selenium Playground, the same website we will be using for demoing out the multi-select option as well. And the field under test will be this one, like it shows all the city names of United States, California, Florida, New Jersey, and so on. So ideally, we will be selecting some options, multiple options ideally, using this drop-down field. And we'll be making use of select class. The select class has multiple options where you can select multiple values of the drop down. And also it helps in deselecting all the values, deselecting single value using options, index, value, and so on. So in this demo, let's now check out how do we perform all the automation testing for selecting multiple values from the drop down and also deselecting them. So let's move on to the code now. So there are multiple tests that I have written. The first one is to check multiple selection is allowed or not, and then select by value. So let's do this one by one. First of all, we'll have to locate the multi-select drop-down field. And for doing that, we'll have to navigate to the field again. I'm just refreshing the page. So we get all the things right back where we can start the locating the elements as well. So let's select this field. Maybe we can select any of the option. And then we have this select tag here. And inside that, we have an ID called multi-select. We can make use of this ID locator to locate this field and ideally work on with the selection of the values in this field. You can see we have this multi-select drop-down field which returns an instance of select class. So ideally we will be locating this field using the ID locator multi-select and then return a new instance of select class, and inside that class there will be the parameter for the web element passed. Now the first test case that we will be doing will be to check if the multiple selection is allowed or not. So in this select class, you can check out there is a method called isMultiple. This returns a Boolean value true or false. This returns a Boolean value true or false. If the field allows selecting multiple values, it will return true. If the field does not allow selecting multiple values, it will return false. So let's now go to the test. So our first test in multi dropdown test, I have created a new test class called multi dropdown test, which extends the same base class like we did for the earlier test of single dropdown values. So it has the same code where we initialize the uh, Chrome driver, and then before test, using before test annotation, we do all the setup. Then for tear down, we have an after test annotation which will gracefully quit the driver. So I've just extended the same base test class to multi dropdown class as well. And here you can check out, I'm just performing an assert true assertion where I'll check if the multiple selection is allowed in the field or not. So if you just check this value, sorry, if you just check this method is multiple selection allowed, you'll find that I'm just returning the value, whether Boolean value true or false, using the is multiple method of select class. So ideally, I will be locating the multi-select drop-down field using this web element ID, using this locator ID locator multi-select, and then it will return is multiple. And if the test runs successfully, it will pass. If the test fails, then this message will be printed. Ideally, the assert true will needs to have a condition in that, and this condition is that the field allows multiple selection or not. And if it fails, then it will show this message in the console. Field does not support multiple selection. So let me quickly run this test and see what happens. Ideally, this test should pass because we have chosen the multi-select field. So you can see the text pass successfully, which actually makes sure that before we perform any other test on this multi-select drop-down field, the field actually allows selecting multiple values. The next test that we will be performing, so let me like just enable this test again. I had disabled this test because we want to run the test one by one, and I didn't want to run all the tests at once until and unless I explain you all the things to you. The next test that we have is selecting multiple values. So from this field, we will be selecting California, Ohio, Texas, and Pennsylvania. California, Ohio, Texas, and Pennsylvania. So this is what we want to select multiple values. So what I have done here is I've created a method in the drop-down page class itself, select multiple options by value. So we will be selecting the values in the field by using select by value. Okay, so there is a problem here. I have given it as select by visible text. So I'll just change it to select by value. I have also like called the refresh page method here. The refresh page method is ideally refresh the page. This is done to ensure that before we run any of the tests, the page gets refreshed, because ideally it's a multi-select drop-down field. To make a fresh selection, we will be refreshing the page every time we run any of the tests. The select multiple option by value method accepts a list of values, a list of string as a parameter. So I've run a short loop here where I'll be running the loop till the size of these values. So whatever values are being supplied here, like for example, 3 values, 4 values. So this loop will run for 4 times in case there are 4 values supplied in this parameter. And finally, select using the method select by value, I'll be getting each value one by one in a string format and then supplying to the parameter, which will eventually select the values required. I have created one more method here, get all selected options. So the select class ideally provides us with another method called get all selected options, which will ideally provide us with a list of all the values of the options that are selected. So here in this case, if these are California, 4 values that are selected, California, Ohio, Texas, and Pennsylvania. So when I run this test, this method get all selected options, it will eventually return me the list of all the values that are selected by using this particular code logic. I have just derived a list of web elements called all options, a variable which will eventually return all the options. So in the first line, when this line will run, it will return all of these options that are displayed here. And then I've created an array list which will return all the values that are selected. So this list will return till the size of these option values that are provided here. And it will add up each value that is the selected value ideally. So whatever value is selected will be added up in this selected options dot add by using this selected options dot add statement. And then finally the values will be written in the list format. The string of all the values will be written in the list, which will eventually be used in this test here. So what I've done here is I've run a assert statement using dropdown dot get all selected options. So this get all selected options will say get all the options that are selected, California, Ohio, Texas, and Pennsylvania. And then finally, these values will be asserted using the select values list of string that I have provided here. So one thing to note here is this method, this statement, which I have created a list of all the values that I need to select, returns a list of string, and get all selected options also returns the list of strings. This makes sure that when we run the assertions, both of the objects match and we will be able to compare the values easily. And then finally, we'll be capturing the screenshot, multi-select by values. So ideally, we'll see what all values are selected in the field. So let me quickly run this test now. And you can see the test passed successfully. Let's check out. Let me delete these screenshots and then run the test again. Okay. And now we can see that we have just one screenshot created that for the test that was just run. Let's check what all values were selected. So we can see California, Ohio, Texas, and Pennsylvania. These are the 4 values that were selected when the test was run. And this is what we want. Like we wanted to select these 4 values and it was selected successfully. Now moving to the next test, selecting by index. So select class also provides us with the method where we can select using the index. So in this method, again, you will see we will be refreshing the page. And then, so this ideally I have done refresh page method. It has been created because I want to run different set of tests on the same field. That is the reason why this refresh page method is being called. Otherwise, there is no requirement to use this method ideally in your project. Ideally, this is just a logic to make sure that whenever you run every test, there are multiple data that I'm running, multiple tests that I'm running on the field. That is the reason why I'm refreshing the page before running any of the tests. Otherwise, I'll get some weird results. It will select all the options that I've provided. So that is the reason why I'm refreshing the page. And then again, the same loop runs. So I have in this parameter, select multiple option by index methods parameter. We are taking the like integer array, and it will run till whatever values are. So if there are 4 values or 5 values provided, if there are 5 values, for example, provided, this loop will run for 5 times, and we'll use this method select by index, and we'll select that respective value one by one. Similarly, we also have the option to select by visible text. You can see the same loop being run. List of string is asked in the parameter of the select multiple option by visible text method, and then eventually a loop will run which will select a single option that is provided in the list, and that will be selected by visible text. So let's go to the test now and run these two tests, select by value and select by index. So we just saw the select by visible text as well. So let's run this one by one. So I'll just run this select by index. So here in this test, we will be selecting three values. The value at index 0, index 2, and index 3. So value at index 0 is California, index 2 is 1, 2, New Jersey, and then index 3 is New York. So that is what we are performing in the assertion as well. So it will select California, New Jersey, and New York. So these three values will be selected when this test is run. Now let me run the test for you. Okay, the test ran successfully, and we can see capture screenshot method has the name multi select by index. So we can just open this and we can just find out like California, New Jersey, and New York. The values that we wanted are selected successfully. So this is how the test ran for multi-select by index. And then the next text, that is multi-select by visible text. And here we will be selecting four values in the field: Florida, New York, Texas, and Washington. So if you check out Florida, New York, Texas, and Washington, we need to select these four values in the field using select by visible text. And then we will be performing an assertions to check if all the selected values are correctly selected or not. So let me run the test. It ran successfully, and we should have a screenshot captured by the name multi-select by visible text. And we can see these four values are selected successfully, which makes sure that the test ran as required and selected all the desired values in the field. The next part comes here is deselecting the values. This is also helpful. Like if you want to check out if the drop down field allows selecting and deselecting both of the functionality, it should not happen that the user should be allowed to select only a particular values, and it should not allow deselecting the values. It will be a kind of a bug in the drop down field then, because user won't be able to select if the user has mistakenly select any of the values in the field, he will not be able to deselect those values. So it's important to check the deselecting part as well. Like I have created a test here which actually deselects all of the values that are selected. So ideally for deselecting all the values, let me first select some values in the field, and let's take this same values. We'll be selecting by visible text. So this New York, New Jersey, and Washington, these three values will be selected in the field. And then the deselect all values method will eventually call the deselect all method from the select class, which will actually help in deselecting all the values. So the deselect all method from select class helps in deselecting all the values. And the same method is wrapped in the deselect all values method. And finally, we will check out that whatever options that were previously selected, after running deselect all, it should return a blank values. Look, no option in the field should be selected. And let's also capture a screenshot saying that deselect all and then run the test. So this test will first select some values and then finally we'll unselect those values. And we'll have a no value selected in the drop down. So we have a screenshot here, deselect all, and you can see none of the values in the drop down field are selected, which makes sure that the deselect all ran successfully. The next method, we can also make deselecting the values by using its index. So first to select the values, I'll just run the same method again and select some values. So we already have this value selected. Drop down page drop down page dot select multiple option by visible text, and it has a list of Florida, New York, Texas, and Washington. So these four values will be selected first, and then using deselect by index, the third and the seventh value. Ideally, we can just check out the index on the page. Let me refresh the page first. And you can see Florida is at 0 first element. New York is the 0, 1, 2 third element. Texas is the 4, 5 fifth element, and Washington is the seventh element. So ideally, when this test runs, it will select all these four values: Florida, New York, Texas, and Washington, and then it will deselect the third and the seventh element. So the third element, so this is 0, 1, 2, 3. New York will be deselected, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and Washington will be deselected. So ideally, once this deselection happens, we should have only two values selected in the field: Florida and Texas. Let's call the capture screenshot method and give it a name as deselect by index, and then run it. And let's check out the screenshot. Deselect by index. And you can see that the two values, Florida and Texas, are selected by default, which means the deselect by index ran successfully. The next test that we have, but one thing to make sure before we move on to the next test, we are deselecting by index. So this deselect by index will eventually make use of this deselect by index method from the select class for deselecting the values one by one using its index. The next test that we have is to deselect by value. And this deselect by value method initially initially calls this deselect by value. This deselect by value method accepts a parameter value in the string format, and this deselect by value method is of the select class. So if you just check out the drop down page, you will find out a loop that is being run, which will eventually select one by one list of string that are supplied in this deselect by value field. Ideally, it is not required to send this list of string in the parameter. You can also send a simple string value there, a single value as well in the parameter. It all depends how you handle the test. Now, since I wanted to deselect multiple values at the same time, that is the reason why I'm using list of string. Otherwise, simply sending a string value is also fine. So in this test deselect by value, we will be first selecting the three options from the field New York, New Jersey, and Washington. And then we will deselect the only a single value, New Jersey. And then once this New Jersey is deselected, then we should have New York and Washington as selected in the field. And we will also capture a screenshot of the test by naming it as deselect by value. And let's run it now. The test ran successfully. Deselect by value. And you can just check out that two values, New York and Washington, were selected in the field by default. That is how the test ran successfully for deselecting by value. There is also an option provided by the select class, a method eventually, which actually helps us in deselecting using visible text as well. So we will be running the same test again, ideally a new test. It actually selects three value, New York, New Jersey, and Washington again, and it will deselect by visible text using two options, Washington and New Jersey. So it will be deselecting these two options, Washington and New Jersey. And finally, we should have only one option selected in the field, that is New York, and that is what we are going to assert. Like after the deselecting by visible text happens, then we should have the New York option only selected in the field. And let's give this name of the screenshot as deselect by visible text. And let me run the test for you. So in this field, we'll see first value, three different values selected first, and then eventually two values getting deselected. And finally, we'll have a New York value selected by default. Deselect by visible text. Here is the screenshot that we have, and we can see that the value New York, option New York has been selected by default. And the other remaining values that were selected previously have been deselected because of using deselectByVisibleText method. And then we come on to the next test, which is eventually the last test in the class. And select class also provides us with an option to get the first selected option. So if you want to check out what is the first selected option in the drop down field. So if we select, like for example, California, New Jersey, and Texas, there are three values selected. So the first one selected is California. So if you want to just check out which is the first option selected, then we can make use of this get first selected option method that is provided by select class, and eventually it will provide us with all the with the first option that was selected. So let's run a test now. Though this test will eventually select by visible text three options: Florida and Ohio and Texas. And then once we get this, once we call this get first selected option method, it should return the value Florida because that is the first selected option in the field. If you see here, California is the first option, but ideally the first selected option is Florida. So that will be written by the test. Let me also capture the screenshot. First selected option. And let me run the test now. Let's open the screenshot and see there were three options selected: Florida, Ohio, and Texas. And as per the assertions, we mentioned that Florida should be the first selected option, and we can see this option selected here. So this is how we can make use of select class in Selenium WebDriver and perform all the multi-select cases and run all the multi-select cases that we want to run for the multi drop-down options. We can also deselect the values by using the different methods that are provided by the select class. We also have a method that allows to deselect all of the values at once. We can also make use of that method. We also have one method called deselectAll that actually allows us to deselect all the values at once, and we can make use of that method to deselect all the options at once. Finally, like if you want to deselect, there are multiple options provided by select class. We can deselect by index, we can deselect by value, we can deselect by visible text, and so on. So this is how we can use select class in Selenium WebDriver with Java to select and deselect options in the multi drop-down fields. And that is all for this video right now. Please do like, comment, and share this video with your network. I hope you will find it useful. Thank you.